Hi everyone. Good evening. Good evening for being here on this platform. Uh, I know it's a weekday and a working day, but I think considering the busy schedule of our guest today, we thought it seemed like a more appropriate day and time to host this because today we have three fantastic stories to share between Gurleen, Sandhya, and of course Dr. Erika, who will join us in a while. But we know for a fact that we all love to run and we all have loved to run the Comrades. So this conversation is largely going to be about running and Comrades in particular, and hence I have these three wonderful ladies on the show so that they can talk about their experiences. Right? I'll just introduce three, and then once Erika joins, I'll introduce her as well. So clearly, Gurleen is from Gurgaon, Delhi, and has been a runner for more than 5-7 years now. In fact, has now turned a trainer, a fitness trainer as well, and she has like a big list of runs, races, and ultra runs to her credit. I will not go into all the details because that will end up consuming a lot of time narrating her accomplishments, but clearly she's from Delhi, and Delhi does not have a very large population of comrade runners, but I hope clearly with Gurleen now we'll see more and more. Then of course we have Sandhya, who's from Goa, who I think is probably is the first comrades runner from Goa. And I sincerely hope that with her taking the lead, and she's going to chart the path for a lot of Goans ahead, right? So we will wait for Dr. Erika once she join and introduce. But in the meanwhile, we kind of kick off clearly, right? So let me just start with you, Gurleen, right? You just give us let everybody and us know a bit more about yourself and what has and you as a runner. Just a brief profile so that we can kind of then go into it deeper.
Thank you, Kashyap. Thank you for introducing me. Hello, viewers. So my name is Gurleen Arora. As Kashyap rightly said, I belong to Gurgaon. Initially, I was born and brought up in Delhi, and we traveled a lot. We settled down after 10 years of marriage in Gurgaon. Running was never a passion for me. So I was not a regular runner or any kind of player in the school. It happened to me suddenly. Probably because I gained a lot of weight after second pregnancy. I was weighing more than 95 kgs. So that was a turning point in my life. And again, it was a blessing that my husband accidentally, he just registered me for a 10-kilometer run wherein I was breastfeeding my child and I was weighing again half a quintal. So it made me run. So I tried, and yes, once you are successful, then you say कि चलो आगे भी चलते हैं, देखते हैं क्या होता है. So this was the first one. Hello, how are you?
Sorry, go ahead, Gurleen. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So this journey happened in 2016. Then I gradually joined a group called Gurgaon Road Runners, headed by Siddharth Chaudhary. We had like-minded people. We used to wake up early in the morning, no late night parties, and again, family support system. Initially, gradually started from 10 kilometers, which turned to half a marathon, then full marathons, then ultra marathons, and then we are here right now.
Yeah. So it's been how long since you first started runs? 10 years plus.
It is 2016, yes. And in
So
between
less than 10
COVID
years, 7 years, right? Yeah, that's
yeah,
not much.
COVID took 2 years.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's been
That was,
quite a busy journey. Let me put it that way. In 7 years, and
yes.
thanks for that. Thanks for that initial bit about yourself. Moving to you, Sandhya, why don't you share us about what you are and what you are as a runner?
Yeah, thank you. And Gurleen, so inspiring. I think I'm on the other spectrum. Ever since I was in school, you'd find me more on the playgrounds than in class. So it was really a task for either my teachers to keep me in class or my parents to have me back home. Play formed a very important part of all my formative years. It continued through, so, right from track events to playing Coco, throw ball, captaining throw ball, moving into cricket, where I had an opportunity to actually, we had one of those international platforms where I used to be a bowler. We had a team set up along with our college and the Karnataka state players and Indian players. So it also gave me an opportunity to play with Mithali Raj. So I think that was all of my, my first 18 years. And then, the undergrad takes over and parents kind of steer you and say, no more sports quota, you've got to really get a little serious about studies. And I think that's when, I think I lost a little bit of touch with sport and play. Got into work, had to do my post grad. So it just went from one thing to another till at about, when it was about 2016, it hit me that, like I knew I was a little active. I used to do some yoga. I used to find my space and my time. But I think 2016 was when I got introduced to running through my elder sister, Nisha, who had taken to running after two children. And she had just ran her full marathon, and she said, you've got to give this a try. And being a track athlete who's not done more than 200 meters in a go, I said, are you kidding me? Like you ran like 42 kilometers. I cannot even think of running 1 kilometer right now.
Yeah.
But we started. It was also a time when I, transitioned to Mumbai, and we started slow. I remember after my first 10K is still my most memorable run outside of, I would say Kalimpong and Comrades, and, one run that we did with Tata Mumbai. But I think ever since then, it's just been about, discovering communities, discovering different strengths. I think a lot of that kind of gets carried over to the work I do, to the life I lead, to the people I connect with. So yeah, I think in a way very blessed to have found running as a space.
No, fair. I mean, agreed, right? So, I mean, before we move to Erika, and the interesting point that both of you brought out was like most of us, right? Everybody, both of you have got into running, our kind of running, which is I call it amateur running or hobby running, very late, very late. I mean, like probably
Mm.
in our 30s or even after that. But
Okay.
not from not being able to run a kilometer when we started to running 90 kilometers and wanting to do more in a span of less than a decade is one, of course, a significant achievement for both of you. But at the same time, it just tells us as human beings that what a human body can do. And also, when we put our mind to something, no task is that difficult, right? You just got to get it into your system, get it into your way of life, and probably then the journey is far more pleasant and happening, I guess. Okay, fair. So, Dr. Erika, thank you for joining in. So, the doctor was in a surgery till 15 minutes ago, and I'm just glad that she could make it. So, Doctor, why don't you just, tell us more about yourself, and then, of course, I probe into each of you deeper.
So, yes, I'm a doctor. I'm a gynecologist and a fertility specialist. And I would like to start with something similar that I too started running just in 2016. So again, late in life. I was a badminton player in school, but then from school to now, nothing in between, honestly. Medical school and no running, no sports activity. And I too started with like not being able to run a kilometer. I remember starting with 1 minute run and 4 minute walk or something like that in 2016. And how I reached Comrades is even I don't know, because Comrades was never on my to-do list ever before. I got pregnant in 2019, and being a gynecologist and a runner, that is something that I always wanted to bring in, that how safe it is or to run in pregnancy. So that's how I met a coach who trained me for running in pregnancy, and from there it went on to, because the reason why I actually did Comrades was, I remember 2020 when Comrades got cancelled, they did a virtual.
Yeah,
And in
they did.
Comrades virtual, there was a 21-kilometer option. So I was like, this is where we're going to get closest to doing Comrades. Let's do Comrades 21K virtual run
Wow.
as my it was my first race back after in postpartum. And I think that's when I started training for Comrades and did my first in 2022.
So
And like everybody says, Comrades
you
brings
can't
you
do it
back.
just once, though.
I did it again. You can't just do it once. So
I'm sure.
I'm
Right.
part of a running chapter called Chennai Runners Petai Rappers. We have 18 running chapters, and it's been a huge support. Obviously, these running groups are something that motivate you, and there were a lot of people from Chennai Runners who have run this race in the past who were quite motivating and support, because I think we being women, we do sometimes need support at running at odd hours and longer runs in the
Yeah.
night and things like that. So I think that is something that helped me a lot in my journey.
Yeah. So, I mean, even like what you mentioned, right? Yeah. None of the runners start believing that they can run a Comrades, and once they run, I mean, they believe they want to come again and again. I mean, somehow this race has a great pull factor, which I have not seen people experience or wanting to do it elsewhere. But anyway, it is what it is. We are all biased, and I guess, more biased than each of you. But anyway, so yeah, right. So what brings this out is that none of you have been running for like 2 decades, but everybody starting somewhere in the last 5 to 7 years, and then yeah, now being able to run on 90 and wanting to do more and happily doing it. On all the pictures that you send me, all of you are smiling after the 90. So clearly, none of you is crying, whining, or in agony. It's only glory and ecstasy. But I guess that's what you guys trained for, right? So let me just jump a bit onto training, right? So for a lot of people who would see this would also want to know, right? Okay, what goes through this whole 6 to 9 months process. Why I say 9 months is because from the time you register somewhere in September or October to the time you kind of actually run the race, it's in June. So Comrades every year happens in the second Sunday of June. Only last year it got postponed to August because of the COVID reasons, but otherwise it's always on the second Sunday of June. So everybody registers somewhere in October, and then the whole mindset and the training process begins. I'd just like to throw up this question, right? I would probably start with Erika. Uh, uh, what goes through, what is the general process, right, for someone who's looking to register for a Comrades, for someone who wants to explore, someone who has been like you running for 3, 4, 5 years and now wants to know about Comrades before taking the plunge? What goes through that 6 to 9 months period, and why is it a very doable race, right? I always say that Comrades is a very doable race, and a lot of us can do it. And my experience clearly tells me that, and which is what something that I think most of us resonate with. So, what goes through that process of 6 to 9 months, and share with us your experience, right?
So yeah, definitely, I would say that it is a very, very doable race. Of course, it like requires a lot of hours of training and discipline. But I think for somebody who's planning to do it the first time, I think this first and the most important step is qualifying for it. So when I trained for it, my first aim was not Comrades. My first aim was to qualify for the race. And once you start training for a 42 or a 50, I think from there, after you've done your qualifier race, from there it gets a little bit easier to get to that first what do you call obstacle, if you want to call it. I think that is what for me did it did the job. Once I was qualified, I think I was very, very confident of finishing Comrades. And I think there are a lot of misconceptions about the amount of mileage that you need to put in for a race like Comrades. But trust me, I think if you are a first timer and your only aim is to cross the finish line, then it is not that crazy amount of mileage, because I feel like if I can do it, a lot of people can. It truly depends on I think what scares people from signing up for Comrades is they think, oh, I have to run 200, 300, 400 kilometers a week. And probably there are things where if you're aiming for a faster Comrades, then maybe. But I think if you're aiming for finishing the race and doing Comrades for the first time, it is not that hard. It just requires a lot of discipline and consistency. And we do, like you said, that it is a long time from October to June.
Yeah.
I mean, my second one was harder because last year it got over in August end, and then this year it came in June. By the time I recovered from the first and started training, that the gap between last year and this year was lesser. But last year, like you said, about 6 to 7 months is a good enough time.
Yeah.
And once you get your qualifier, I think it's very easy from there.
Sandhya, you resonate with that? I mean, in terms of anything different you would like to add, considering your experience this year?
No, and actually like to reiterate a piece that Erika mentioned around just the misconception about the amount of mileage that needs to go in. I think a couple of critical pieces that I felt truly made a difference was ensuring that strength and conditioning becomes a non-negotiable. And I could really feel that over how my quality of runs changed once I started being more consistent with strength and conditioning. I think one piece that does get compromised, because I'm sure like all of us sometimes have like longer day jobs, and if you do have travel, if you travel quite a bit, then you need to find spaces where you can get shut eye even through the day. Like, even though you're not able to get all that sleep and rest in the night, I think you will have to figure out how to also make accommodations during different types of the day. So I feel like, with signing up for something like Comrades means that you're being mindful about how your entire day pans and planning for it accordingly. But I do feel in the whole piece, it's what the strength and conditioning actually kind of enabled me, especially in the down run for the kind of pounding that is required. I do feel that was that added a huge amount of value.
Yeah, fair. So Gurleen, on strength and conditioning, right? Because you are a fitness trainer yourself. How important you think, in your experience, is necessary strength and conditioning along with the mileage that we put in, right? How important and necessary you think it is?
Right, Kashyap. When we run, we are just using a part of a body, that's our legs. So we're just conditioning, we're just using the muscles of legs. So we have to condition and use all the parts of the body. That is where Sandhya rightly said, we have to condition each and every part. So according to both of them, they have mentioned the strength and training specifically. I would like to add one more part here. We forget to recover. So rest and recovery and going for a nutritional path is again a vital part for running Comrades. So I would like to mention three things. Train specifically. Yes, train for the long runs, rest, recover, go for the nutrition, and also train for the specific part for the body, that's strength and training for complete body. Because while running, we are just using a part of muscles, and set of muscles which are not being used has to be trained otherwise as well.
Yeah, so it's a very important point on recovery that you brought up, Gurleen, right? So when you say recovery, right, what do you mean by recovery? Yeah, I mean, what is if you're a long distance runner and you're training through a Comrades, you need to recover. How do you do that?
So first of all, if you are training 3 days a week, you're running 3 days a week, you have to either 2 days or 3 days, you have to strength train yourself. And in between, one day should be a complete rest. See, Kashyap, our heart is a muscle. We are training it. And once we run, the heart rate goes up to 150 to 180. And when we rest, it should come around 60 to 70. So this is the part of training. So we need to rest and take care of our muscles. This is the recovery. Again, when you do LSDs, you have to, LSD is long, slow distance. You have to run slower pace, at the pace much slower what you run on your interval training. So that is again a recovery. When you run a speed intervals, you run for longer runs, then it's a recovery. So one day you should complete take care for your nutritional diet and your rest and recovery.
And that's fair. That makes a lot of sense. And how important is sleep? I would just like to bring in the angle of sleep, right? Because all of us do this as a hobby, and we have our most of us have our day jobs, and even if you don't have a day job as a homemaker, you are pretty occupied all the time, because that's like a 24-hour job. How important is sleep?
Right. Sleeping less than 6 hours, it directly affects our heart. You know, we have respiratory health issues if we are not taking the proper sleep, and we have strict instructions from our coach that if you are not sleeping less than 6 hours, you should not come for the run next day. You have seen so many examples, live examples in front of you. We can see many runs where runners are collapsing. Why? Because they're not having the proper rest and recovery. You know, our poor quality sleep, our heart and blood vessels don't get the chance to relax. So here comes the point of relaxing and rest and recovery, where you should rest for one day in a week at least.
Fair. I mean, that does make sense. Like the importance of sleep and the importance of probably one day in a week where you kind of do absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Especially on the workout front, right? Which kind of helps you build it all up. The other point that I wanted to kind of bring forth is for all the long distance running that we do, right? Why, and all the races that we do, why do you think Comrades is very special, and why? I mean, Sandhya, I would like to start this one with you. Why do you think Comrades is so special? Is it the challenge? What makes it so special?
I had this question too before, I heard about the Comrades, and then I used to hear people were like, India ka ye contingent ja raha hai, year on year I'm seeing 2017, 2018, 2019. And I said, oh God, everybody, the way they spoke about the Comrades, I thought that maybe this is all that runners exaggeration and high, and that's why they're so excited about Comrades. But honestly, when you experience it is when you truly, truly understand what this race is about. I think one, just the philosophy of being the oldest ultra marathon in the world, the history of how it was started, um, the sense of community, pride, all the experiences that it leaves you with. And I had actually summed it up through what I, experienced this year through Shosholoza. And you can't help but convert into a poet after you run the Comrades. Crowd support 95% of the way. You get everything that you need along the way. Honestly, for how much ever I had heard saying stock yourself up with this and that, I really didn't find the need to dig in too deep into my pockets or my socks, because it was there all along the way. Everybody was egging you to the finish line. It did not matter. And if you were from India, you were wearing the India jersey, then the crowd support was exponential. Um, so I think it's the entire race, right? From when you hear the cock crew, right at the start, and you see all the runners lining up, taking off, to every kilometer in that race. It's been fantastic. So yeah, Kashyap.
So, Erika, does it evoke similar emotions in you? And what has made Comrades so special for you that you wanted to go through the grind once again?
Shalosha, I completely agree with her. I think it's like it puts you in one trance state or something. And I still remember one of my running friends telling me before doing my first Comrades, start listening to Loza every day since before 6 weeks, and it will make you feel like you're doing something special. But I think it really felt like one extended music festival that I'm a part of when I did it for the first time, because of the amount of support, emotion that is shown by all the supporters. And I think this is the first race where I'm seeing there are more family personal aid stations than the actual race aid stations. And it was just very heartening to see the entire family coming out, standing by the side of the road for hours together and giving you, forget food, Vaseline. I mean, somebody offered me a glass of wine. I mean, from everything, from whatever you need, they would run, they would get it for you. And this support is throughout that 90-kilometer distance. I think we probably have patches of a very few kilometers where it's not there, very, very few. But it just, you never ever feel alone, because when people ask you, how do you run 90K? I don't think you ever feel alone in that entire race distance. So I think that is something that made it very, very special for me.
That's. I mean, I every time I hear these experiences from different people, I still get similar goosebumps I got the first time.
Yeah.
So, Gurleen, what I mean, anything different? I mean, what is your thought process about this, and how have you loved the race so much?
See, I wanted to run an international event. So what's better than Comrades? So I ran 96th edition of Comrades. So, it's such a big and vast 96 editions running. It's an amazing thing. And Comrades is a kind of warrior thing with what we are doing. It's actually, it was one of my bucket lists. And yes, as doctor said, that there was none of the point where we could not find the cheerleaders. And once we were wearing this jersey, which has India written on it, everybody was like cheering and saying, "Go India, go India, go." They were along with their families, all caravans, and they were just boosting up. And it was an experience which cannot be put into the words. Still, as you rightly said, Kashyap, I'm having goosebumps right now thinking of it when I was not able to walk properly because I had an injury before when going to Kalimpong. It's a shin injury. Then I was struggling at 72 kilometer. The people and the cheer took me along. I want to reiterate a thing over here. There was a friend of mine. So he said, I said, yeah, 90 kilometers. I don't know I will be able to run or not. तो उसने मुझे एक बात बोली, कहता कुछ नहीं करना, बस नीचे झुक के ना इंडिया का फ्लैग देख लेना, उसी को देख के तुम भाग लोगे. So that is such an inspiration. तो छोटी छोटी चीजें होती हैं ये दिमाग में बस एक you should have a such a strong mindset. Once you have a target in your mind, you will be easily able to glide and achieve to your target.
No, fair. I mean, clearly, I think once again, I mean, you bring out mindset as a very important and necessary part of this training, right? Sandhya, how important is your frame of mind or your mental focus or your grit when you're training for a race like Comrades, right? And does that 6 to 9 months of endurance, physically and mentally, make you a different person at the end of the journey? I mean, can you just kind of uh, talk a bit about that?
Sure, Kashyap. Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up also, Gurleen. Um, I think one, does it require a different mindset? Yes. What do you learn to do more of? You learn to say no. You learn to weigh your trade-offs. For me, it means that if I sign up for a run like Comrades, it would mean that that's going to be my, like a big run for the year. And then preceding that, you plan all other runs that are timed well, right? So having chat with your coach, identifying those runs, making sure it's also something that energizes you and is not just part of a plan, right? So I think one, just your ability to say no to a lot of things and also be okay with the trade-offs that you're making along the way. I think the second piece is the pure resilience and grit. I remember when I'd initially started training in Goa, there was a lot of actually my transition into Goa as a state. For, I would say, almost a couple of years, I started learning how to run alone. And doing that for very long distances can definitely be, can really kind of wear you down, right? Because in running, you have that sense of community. I think luckily towards towards the almost the 2 or 3 months before Comrades, I actually got in touch with like a running group, a few other runners, and I think some of the words that you hear from your runners. So I used to train with a lady called Priyasi, who is also considered to be like Iron Woman in Goa. And she's done the stadium run, right? And I used to, a lot of her advice used to keep running through my head, even when she was not running with me. Yeah, so I think leaning on and keep drawing into, inspiration, words of confidence, speaking to yourself. I think I started doing that a lot. Um, Clarifying. There was a point in Comrades, I think, towards the 30th kilometer, where I thought I want to leave the race, right? I said, I'm done. Like, I just felt like another almost 58 kilometers, like, who's going to run this? Like, it just seemed like a goal that was so far. And I was looking at that lovely bus, which was taking people along. And I said, I think, let me just jump into the bus and, call this a day. I turned up, I showed up. It's okay. There's always a next time, right? I know there are these voices in your head and it's very real. I think at that point in time, being able to transition to a space of logic. So quickly asking yourself, why do you feel like quitting? Are you feeling, say physically weak? Are you cramping? Are you injured? Right? And once you have those answers, can you go for another kilometer? Okay. Can you go for another kilometer? So in a matter about 4 or 5 minutes, I had transitioned from I want to quit to people will have to drag me off this course if they have to take me off and get me to stop the Comrades, right? So I think the mind is a very powerful tool. It's really sad that we've not discovered all the techniques yet that we can use in terms of training for big goals like the Comrades. But aspects like visualization, being able to talk yourself, have 2 or 3 very clear, tricks to navigate some of these downtimes during your runs. You need to know what are those 2, 3 things that will work for you. And all of this comes out in your practice runs. Yeah. You have that ready, then you're going in with a little more ammunition on, on a race day like Comrades, where everybody is going to be nervy, anxious, the energy is going to be intense. And yeah, while a lot of us believe that we never get lonely, sometimes you could also feel like you're the only person, among the sea of runners who's fighting that battle for yourself. So yeah, Kashyap, I
I
think.
mean, very, very interesting points, Sandhya. So I would like to just pass it on to Erika. Uh, How uh, uh, running long distances brings in a different mindset, builds a different mindset for an individual over a period of time. How do you then transcend into your regular life or a daily life and learn what you learn from long distance running, implement that in your daily life? And does it really help? I mean, do you think it really helps?
Yeah. So just to continue with what Sandhya was saying about giving up in Comrades, it's even harder in Comrades because Comrades gives you kilometers to go and not what you finished. So when you're at 20, you see 60 to go or 70 to go. So it just sounds like a very big number in your head, not to usual race distances that shows us what you finished. And I just want to add one point on mindset is something that my coach taught me, that when you're training for a race which requires mental strength, you have to practice that in your training. That is, you have to practice not giving up your training runs. I have to do a 30, and if I feel like giving up at 19, I need to start fighting that battle in the training runs, which I think is what helped me do that. Because like how we practice the running, I think we have to practice this mind game also in our training runs. And for everything, I think answering to your question, not giving up is something definitely that Comrades or ultra running or long distance running teaches you to implement in our daily life. Like literally in few weeks immediately after Comrades, you are in that mindset, if I can do this, I can definitely do this, can definitely work for 12 hours, or I can definitely, that mindset comes, that everything else seems like a lot easier, doable. You don't give up that easily. And I think the biggest thing that it taught me was patience, to be patient and not do anything but just run for 12 hours. I think it teaches you a lot of patience in your regular daily life as well. Because I am generally a very anxious person. So that is something that I feel. So definitely, I think ultra running does teach you a lot. And I'm sure a lot of people who run for hours and hours, I mean, you get like so many thoughts of solving issues in your life because you are just with yourself and your head. So I think it brings you a lot of peace also. At least for me, it does. But I'm sure it definitely does for everyone
For a
else.
lot of us, I'm sure. Yeah.
To
So,
add,
yes,
Kashyap, sorry
sorry,
to
go ahead.
bother. Rightly said, Dr. Erika. It's actually a series of arguments which is going and happening inside your mind. You are questioning yourself regularly and you are answering them yourself. And this habit of not giving up, which she rightly said, is passed on to our children as an inheritance. They take it as an example that if she can do it, it's a very big distance of 90 kilometers, though they gave a negative marking like the negative 60 to go, 80 to go. So we instill that habit into our children as well, that yes, not giving up is an option. There is no option. Impossible always says that I am possible. Go for it. Do it. Kashyap, whenever I put my stats, Garmin gives you an option of putting a sticker. So you put a sticker over there, say never, never, never give up. Always do that. And it gives an inspiration to your friends, to your family. Yes, we should not give up. And whatever your target is, just finish that up. वो जो अर्जुन वाली आंख वाला सीन नहीं होता जो महाभारत में था, अर्जुन की निशाना सिर्फ उसकी मछली का आंख था, तो उसको वही कंप्लीट करना है. सेम वे, whatever work you take in your life, just finish it and then you are sorted.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah, I mean, true. So I wanted to bring that part, right? You just mentioned about inspiring family, right? I mean, now that you have done this, you've been running for 6, 7 years, but you've done the Khardungla Ultra, and in fact, even done the Comrades, which is a big race for, as we all know. What kind of impact has it had on you as in your family and in your peer running group, right? Does it inspire them? What does it make them feel?
Oh, that's an absolutely fantastic question here, Kashyap. So, this brings the answer over here is family. Family is a big support. If you don't have a support pillar at your place, then you won't be able to go for all these runs.
True.
Yes, peer factor. We have, again, same like-minded people. And whatever you say, Kashyap, Gurgaon is not safe for women to run
So
alone.
how did you manage? How did you manage that in Gurgaon? And that's a question for all three of you, right? In a way that running. If you're not running in a group, if you're the only Comrades aspirant or a rare Comrades aspirant within your city, training at odd hours, dark hours,
Right.
how do you guys manage?
So whenever we have long distances running, so we used to divide it. We always ensured that we used to run in a group. Might it be a group of female runners or one male runner, or else what we used to do here is we had a driver who used to drive behind us slowly so that we can run. And again, a male runner should be accompanying us. Plus, we had few things with us. For example, that pepper spray.
Okay.
And yes, of course, we had mobiles with us all the time. But whatever you say, it was actually a risk taking, and we ensured that we go with some group, or otherwise, once the sun rises, then we complete our distance.
So basically, it's about when there is a will, it will find a
There,
way. You will find a
absolutely.
way around it, right? Sandhya, your experience being similar in Goa, or Goa is a little easier than Gurgaon?
Yeah, I think with Goa, the added complexity are dogs.
Dogs, is it? Oh,
It's everywhere.
Yeah, and I think the good part is I definitely had, runners like Priyasi. And it gets really hot the time when you're, in your peak stage, the
yeah.
humidity. So you also, in a way, need to figure out who can support you even later on during the day. That's also an equally important question when you're doing your
Somebody
longer
running with
runs.
you in the first half, somebody running with you in the second half, or stuff
Right.
like that.
So stagger it wherever possible. I did have my husband on occasions who, at least till the 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. kind of mark, made sure that he was around in different spots where he would get a snooze, leave water bottles around, in different spaces, because you'll need to think about how you're hydrating and you want to try and replicate most of how the race is going to pan out. So I think it requires some bit of thinking, some bit of planning, leaning on, people for support, asking for that whenever, and I think you'll find a way. I think the good part is when you're working with a coach, and I used to train with the coach Daniel Vaz. I think just the ability to put down your training plans clearly, know what's coming your way during the weekend, planning for that in advance. So, some of those logistics are out of the way. But yeah, planning is another very important skill that kind of comes your way when you're training for a run like the Comrades.
Yeah. Erika, Chennai, would you have adequate running support from your peer group, or how did
Yes,
you manage the dark hours?
absolutely. It was only and only the running group, and yes, sometimes the driver. But I have an amazing support in the running group. In fact, I mean, in Chennai, there are literally no elevations other than flyovers. So I had my running group travel with me all the way to Yerkat and ran with me in splits. They would run with me here in Chennai at like 3. Like similarly, Chennai is very, very humid. You cannot possibly run later in the day. So I had to start at 3, 4, and I
Yeah.
always had somebody who would support me. And I mean, some of them are here in this talk supporting me in this as well.
That's
But
nice.
I think it is very, very important to have a support in terms of a running group, as well as at home, because I had a two-year-old. My child was 2 years old when I ran Comrades last year. So I think when somebody asks me what's your biggest support, I would say my nanny, who would take care of my child, and obviously my husband and my in-laws and everyone. But then it was like, I had to like prep a lot.
Yeah.
Like she said, the planning is so important. From 2 days, I start planning with my running group with at home. What am I going to take? Who's going to run with me in the first hour, second hour? So I don't think you can do this alone. Definitely no.
Yeah,
I mean,
clearly, yeah,
there are, and trust me, for anybody who's here, and who is planning to do it for the first time, trust me, in running communities in India and all across the world, when you ask for support, you will definitely find some runner who
Yeah.
will be ready to support you. You just have to ask for it. I think it's there in every city. It's there in every city, both Gurgaon and Goa. You ask for it, and there will be 10 runners who will be ready to support you.
Yeah, no, fair. I mean, see, so I mean, these are all the varied excuses that I've heard over the years, right? For people not wanting to do something with their lives, family, homemaking commitments, work, kids, early hours, dark hours, need support. But I mean, between three of you have kind of found a solution for everything, right? Whether it's a 2-year-old child or running with a pepper spray, to getting your husband support you till 5:30 in the morning, and I think in some form and shape, it tells us that there are solutions to most problems. You need to find them, and it's probably about everything in life, right? Challenges are there, issues are there. You got to, and of course, you got to deal and handle with them. There is a way, as long as you're willing to find it. So, I mean, we've had a very, very interesting and I guess inspiring conversation so far. Of course, have a few minutes to go before I open up a bit for Q&A, quick Q&A. One more question I always love to ask, and because two of you are first timers, right? Two questions. No, two questions. So your success at Comrades, does it really inspire your peers in Delhi, Gurgaon, and other female runners to take up Comrades? And the second one being, of course, are you gonna come again?
Okay, shall I answer?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So there is one member in my running group. He always says, गुरलीन तुम ना लैंडमार्क्स बना देते हो और फिर हमें पीछे पीछे आना पड़ता है. पहले तुमने खारदुंगला कर लिया लास्ट ईयर, अब हमें इस साल करना पड़ा. अब तुमने इस साल कॉमरेड्स कर लिया, अब हमें नेक्स्ट ईयर ये करना पड़ेगा. So I am so glad and so happy that yes, मैं मशाल लेके चल रही हूँ, तुम मेरे पीछे पीछे आओ. I will pave the way for you, and I feel so blessed that all the friends, gratitude to everyone for their blessings, जिन्होंने मुझे हमेशा पुश किया कि yes you can do it, and now they are also willing and raring to go for it, and they are preparing for next year Comrades. I'm very happy for them. Yes,
It is glad to hear. Sandhya, what about you?
Yeah,
This
I
one,
think that way the Goan community has been lovely. I
you've
think
introduced them to
obviously,
Comrades, right?
oh yes, and I think we're going to have, I already see a whole host of people who've been telling me, please let me know when the registration opens. Let us know when you have, indicative dates. And I think it's also, it was a great experience for having somebody in Goa do the conference and come back.
Yeah.
You are invited to a lot of running groups. So we did a lot of debriefs. I did like an interview on a local TV channel. They carried the story along. I'm going back in November as an ambassador for a race. So that way, I think, once you've experienced, you've gone back and shared, there's a lot of interest and keenness about the race and wanting to do it. And then they understand the broader piece that, what Comrades really is in a global running, community, right? So that way, I definitely think there are people, Am I coming back? Yes, I definitely want to experience the up run. So the
Can I
idea is
also
to
answer the question? Even though I've done two, I also want to go back again and do that.
Erica says she wants to. Yes,
So,
Erica,
Erica,
over to you. Over to you. Go ahead.
so Erica,
No,
you would
I
have
was
liked
saying, I just
it.
wanted to add to that. I also want to go and do the up run again,
Yes, yes.
just to get
Erika
the
did two
hang of
back-to-back down
it.
runs, right? So she has to come again to do the
Yes.
up run and get more Chennai runners along.
Yes, but like Sandhya said, this going to groups and talking about it, I think it makes a lot of difference when
Yeah,
when you're a part of running group and one of your own has gone and done a race,
yeah,
because they see you every day, they see you what are your life problems, they see you what amount of time you have, and then I think it inspires them more that if she can, then probably also we can.
yeah,
And so, I mean, for first timers, when we talk of support like this in terms of running groups, that you will find like a lot of people who think that maybe you can't, maybe you can, but
yeah,
will definitely use people who will come say, "Re, tu kar legi," even though they've seen you done only a 20K before. So, in terms of physical support as well as mental also, you do get, at least I got a lot of it. From my in-group people as well as from my family when I doubted myself
mm,
that I don't know if I can. So a lot of
yeah,
you definitely end up inspiring people whether you want it or not,
yeah.
but you definitely do end up inspiring.
And that's what I guess we need to do, right? The whole objective of a conversation like this is to share the knowledge and experience with people who have done it, or people who want to do it, first timers, newbies, and clearly, clearly, the one statistic I would want to share, right? In India, 10% of the total registrations are female, only 10%. So it is up to us, including three of you, to increase that percentage higher, right? Slowly, surely. We'll be very glad if we see in a 3-4 years a 25% participation at least from females at this race, right? And between three of you, you have found a solution to every problem that one could come up with as far as training is concerned, and training as a solo comrades participant and not really group, right? In Bombay, that way, a lot of us are pretty blessed. We are generally training in groups and groups of comrades participants and not really other groups. Like, so it's different, but you girls have found a solution to clearly everything, and that's what is really heartwarming. I would just like to quickly open it up for questions. Anyone has, please feel free to switch on your video and switch on your unmute yourself and ask if you have something. Otherwise, we will kind of conclude the conversation. Uh,
Hey, hi, this is Narayanan from Chennai.
Hi, Narayan. Go ahead, please.
First of all, you should know that I'm actually standing on the table here in respect of what you women have been able to do. Totally, totally inspiring. I know Erika very well. For a very long time, we're all part of the Chennai Runners group. And it was actually goosebumps listening to the story. And we were following Erika. And I really, even to recall that experience, actually my hair is standing on its end. It's just too good. You women are just amazing. You are breaking every barrier. And you are telling us and telling the world, even if they're not part of this call, that anything is possible if we can put our heads to that. And actually, there's nothing at all to complain. There's zero reasons to complain. And I don't know, I have no words to express my respect, admiration, inspiration, and everything that you can talk about in what you have done. I'm moving on to my question because I'm conscious that many people are waiting. The one thing that you probably can take a minute to talk about, maybe I missed the early part of the call, is nutrition. In those 9 months, as you toiled through weather, heat, rain, whatever, cold in Delhi and the security issues, etc., what were the two things that you would tell us if I were to even think of running Comrades? If that is possible, what do you think I should keep in mind from a nutrition point of view?
Gurleen, you want to take that? Clearly, because you spoke about nutrition.
Yes. So nutrition is very important part of training runs, Narayan. First of all, you should take care of your protein intake because we are running, so we lose our muscles. So we need to take more of the protein. Plus, when we are doing rigorous workouts, we have to take carb loading. For example, once you start the run, please take some food for like banana or a muffin or whatever suits you in the morning, an apple or a sandwich. Generally, what I used to do is I go in a natural way. I eat aloo paratha in the morning if I have a LSD. And in between, I peel a date and deseed it. I put black salt into it because when you run, you perspire a lot and you tend to take out the salts taken out of the body because of the sweat. So, aloo paratha for the LSDs and normal runs like interval training or a shorter run, you can either consume banana or in between, please take electrolytes. I would highly recommend if you are running every day, please intake coconut water every day. It has got high content of electrolytes which your body requires during these tough training runs. Yes, nutrition is very, very important part as the rest and recovery in your training. You have to take carbs and proteins. You, if you, there's a time I can just explain. You can divide your whole plate into half of it. As a runner, we don't need much of roughage. So you can take half of the protein and half of the carbs, little of the fiber. Try in taking legumes like lentils or dals. If you are a vegetarian, then you can take the carbs as potatoes or sweet potatoes. And if you're a non-vegetarian, then eggs and chicken is vital for your protein intake.
Yeah. So Narayan, what she's trying to say is you got to eat all the right
Balance.
things and avoid all the wrong things.
Got it.
Alcohol intake.
Yeah, of
Less.
course. Come in, Erika. So you are a big inspiration for the Chennai runners. That's what Narayan told us. And he also wants to run. So
I'm going to drag him
yes,
definitely
please
with
do
me.
so. Yeah.
It's on his checklist. It's on his and on its to-do list. But I mean, great answer by Gurleen. I don't know much about exactly what to eat or what amount, but I want to add just one thing. I think you should eat, like
Yeah.
eat a lot, because people think that they cut down on calories and then they go up on mileage. That doesn't work for Comrades. You really need food. You have
Food,
to
but don't
eat.
add weight. No, but Narayan, on a serious note, right? Clearly, it makes sense for those at least for 4 months, if not 9 months, to have a diet or a nutrition plan in place from someone, especially who is a trained nutritionist, and it helps if he or she is a runner as well, runner or an athlete as well, right? Because then the athlete understands a lot more about what the body goes through while going through these tough trainings. But yes, you can't ignore it. At the same time, it's not something that is is a 200% must do. But yeah, the balance is somewhere in between. But yeah, it's necessary and important to have a good run and a good training through the course of those 6 months.
And as a doctor, I think I would like to add, especially in this post-COVID era, that if you're planning on ultra marathons and something that's long distance, I think there's the blood work that needs to be
Yeah.
done correct, like in terms of nutritional deficiencies and all, definitely needs to be corrected before you get into something like Comrades.
Yeah, fair. Yeah. So you answered
Thank
Narayan's
you.
question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Narayan. Yeah. Anyone else wants to ask something? Feel free.
Yeah, hi, this is Rachna here. I'm from Chennai Runners too. And kudos to all you three people who have done wonders. My question would be, while running the Comrades, what was the loo problem which you people faced as women? How did you handle that part of it? It's running for 12 hours, so how did you do that?
Okay, I would like to answer this, Rachna. So, Rachna, you would be amazed to know In between around 25th kilometer, I wanted to use the washroom. However, there was no portable loo over there. So there was a car parked over there. Two men were relieving themselves, and I just sat down and I relieved myself. You know, you have to take this out from your mind that in ultra runs you will find a washroom, or you will find it, because there is a scarcity of place, scarcity of time. You cannot waste your time. Wherever you get this place, you have to sit down. You have to take it from your mind that you will get a proper place. This is the only reason. And I experienced the same thing in Khardungla, or might it be Chambal Run, wherever there is an ultra run, this thing should be out of your mind again. कि तुम्हें कहीं जगह मिलेगी. Wherever it is, you have to sit.
Sandhya, Erika, you have a different, a very different answer, or
I mean, yeah, I mean, I probably did not do it like with people around, but it was all in outdoors.
Out
That
in the
much
open,
I
yeah.
know. Like from since the time you have to go, you are like in constant search of a corner
Yeah.
or a tree or a bunch of bushes. But it's difficult to find a loo which is clean and where you want to go. So yeah, it's all outdoors.
Yeah. So
Sandhya?
yeah, Sandhya, you have something different to add?
I don't know if I have to be happy or sad now, but during both my ultras, I didn't find the need to use the loo. Honestly, I mean, I've just been sheer
You're
lucky.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to come our way
Yeah.
at some point
So
in time.
yeah. So I remember one instance where two instances, in fact, where we guys and a couple of girls running with us wanted to go to. This was one at the before the start, okay, when we just touch the sections. So four guys, we stood in a row. The girls got in below a tall truck, got in below a tall truck and relieved themselves, and the guys were standing in a row, kind of trying to cover them. And another way on the route, exactly similar stuff we did, where we kind of covered two, three of us, and the girls relieved themselves. So I think again it boils down to, yeah, as Gurleen said, take it out of your mind, and this is the only solution. There are portable loos, but yeah, I mean, if they're not, they might not be there when you exactly want them to be. But yeah, it's definitely not a showstopper. Can't be.
Yeah, because something which people have to take out from their mind. This
Yeah.
is it's a very important thing for women.
Yeah.
So, they have
So-
to even probably while doing their training runs, they have to even
Yes.
take this into consideration that, it's not going to be there,
Yeah.
and be ready to face whatever comes your way. Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah,
answering.
It's training.
And,
During the
and I
training,
think
you
it's
have to
also
sort it.
kind of, and also kind of feedback to organizers of runs. I think, just because we have now, say, women who are also increasing just in terms of participation, right? So I think our ability to just go back and talk about some of the challenges and ensure that they're acting on
Yes.
it, because, I think some of these forums have also been quite proactive in terms of acting on the feedback that is
Fair
shared.
point.
So,
Absolutely important point.
I would just like to add something over here. I think I'm part of Chennai Runners, and during our marathons, we ensure that women are given a lot of facilities. Even there are separate places even for using, if in case they have something to do, they're going through their periods, or that kind of thing. So we ensure that even they get even pads are provided, or
how
that
thoughtful.
kind of a thing. Yeah,
Yes,
it's one of the
really
first.
thoughtful.
Yeah, it's a thing which Chennai Runners had started a few years back. So I think these are they're very important things for women
Exactly.
to ensure that it's more comfortable for them to take part in any event
Yeah.
as such, long distance. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks for sharing.
Rachna, for the question, because it. So, anyone else, anything? Otherwise, I'll just kind of summarize and conclude.
I have one small question actually I
Yes.
follow Gurleen on Strava, and I see her lot of strength sessions. So during Comrades training session, how did she manage strength? I mean, there's a lot of volume, mileage also you have to run, and you already your legs must be tired. And then how the strength sessions were managed during the training period?
Hi, I missed your name.
I'm Dr. Pranali.
Hello, hi, Dr. Pranali.
Hi.
So generally, I schedule my runs on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and weekends, Saturday and Sunday. So in between,
Okay.
I strength train only on Mondays and Wednesdays. Friday is generally a rest day. So I categorize the days. That is the reason I do the strength training on these particular days. Probably you must have seen I strength coach the clients. So probably that would be a
Okay.
training in 2, 3 sessions in a week, in a day. You must have
Yeah,
watched.
yeah. That's what I was wondering. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. I'm from Mumbai actually. So,
All right.
yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you for that question.
Mhm.
Cool. So clearly a fantastic conversation, and I mean this can go on, but we got to conclude somewhere. Let me just kind of summarize, right, from what we spoke last. Uh, all three of you uh, have been running for only last 5-7 years, not really very long. And of which one or almost at least a year went off in COVID. And most of all of you, when you started running, couldn't probably run 2-3 kilometers at a go, but now clearly 90 has been a breeze, and the hunger and the desire is to do more and do it again. Training matters, nutrition matters, of course. The mental health and mental state of training through a Comrades is important. Techniques like visualization do play a role. The support system at home, family, nanny, and your peer running group extremely important, because you women found a solution to every problem that you had to deal with in the 6 to 9 months, which is extremely inspiring, clearly. And it just tries to solve any excuse that someone wants to give, address any excuse that anyone wants to give. uh, the journey on the race day and into Comrades is pretty enthralling, and someone has to kind of just experience it to believe in it. Otherwise, it's something that you got to you'll miss. And I guess every runner, every long distance runner must do a Comrades once, because it is an extremely doable race, and once put our mind to it, it's something that is very achievable. And we want to use platforms like these to answer questions, to ease out anxieties, take away the uncertainty, bring in more a definite framework for people to train and run for Comrades, right? That is the whole idea. And to conclude, you girls will inspire a lot more women to come and run the Comrades and slowly increase the ultra running population in the country. Thank you
so
very
much.
much for doing this.
Thank you for having us, Kashyap. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Kashyap.
will-
I don't think we've had a platform like this
Yes.
when we were deciding to do the Comrades. And really, thank you for initiating this and, maybe taking our stories out and keeping us committed to these bigger goals.
Thank you for bringing us together.
Yes,
Lots to
thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you everyone for being there. Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you everyone for joining in.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you. Good night.